What up, YouTube? Welcome to a very different Tuesday video. I apologize for the lighting and this thing swinging in my face. I'm on my way to work and you guys are on my dashboard. If you follow me on Twitter, it's Danielle DDD. You might have noticed that I tweeted out that I was hinting at doing a story time on this Tuesday. I basically wanted to take a break from some commentary. People who want to follow it are following it, and it just gets to be tiring after a while. I can mention a couple of things here before I get into today's story time. Alex, aka Pretty Pastel Please, if you follow her channel at all, she, in her recent video, has been the victim of some pretty hardcore censorship, in my honest opinion, to which she had a brilliant response, so be sure to go check out her most recent video. And Gabby Hanna is apparently struggling a little bit for content on Box of Thoughts, which, when you've been writing music in a book for over a year, it can be difficult to change gears. She and Peyton discussed this and more in the most recent Box of Thoughts podcast. Trisha snapped again, but that's to be expected when you have a song written about you and you don't... A lot of people aren't looking at the context with this, and I'm just going to leave that one alone. And I think that pretty much covers everything that I wanted to talk about with the drama. So let's get into today's story time. This isn't going to be reminiscent of the story times of 2016. I will not overly dramatize any story. I am not normally an excellent, over-the-top, crazy storyteller. This is just me talking about stuff that's happened in my life, and I realize I'm about 5 to 6 years too late. But, want to give a trigger warning right at the beginning. If you are at all triggered by mentions of injuries or blood or gore or suicide, this is not the video for you. Basically come back Thursday, because this is going to get a little bit intense. Wow, it's cold this morning. But basically, I want to talk about the story that I hinted at on Twitter last week. So, normally my husband and I go out for tacos on Thursday. For those of you who don't know, this last May, during the pandemic, my husband and I celebrated our 1-year wedding anniversary. We had been dating for 4 years on the day of our wedding anniversary, and we had known each other for probably about 10 at this point. But we both work a lot of hours, and Thursday's usually kind of our day to go get tacos and relax. So we go up to our favorite local business. We're pretty socially distanced away from everybody else. We wear masks when we get up. We do everything that, you know, we want to do to help keep this place open. Does everybody else do that? Not necessarily, but we're just there having a good time. They're playing jukebox, we're singing Don't Stop Believin'. It's a good time. So at some point in the night, I become aware of this man and this girl who come in and they sit at one of the tables. And the man's wearing a mask, but the girl is not. And from a distance, it's pretty easy to see why, because it's clear that this girl has suffered some sort of traumatic brain injury. She's wearing a traumatic helmet, and she is acting a little off. So I'm thinking to myself, oh, cool, they got to get out. Maybe this is the first time they've been out since whatever it is has happened. So the girl comes walking over to my husband and asks her where the ladies' room is, but she's kind of hard to understand, and my husband has some hearing loss from his hobbies as a war reenactor, so he's just like, what? And I walk over, I go, oh, like, let me show you, it's easier for me to show you. And I walk with her to the back to show her where the bathroom is, mask on and all that, and all's well and good. Well, I come back and my husband's like, I feel kind of bad, I couldn't hear her, want to buy him a drink, blah, blah, blah. At this point, they had gone outside to smoke a cigarette. So I'm like, sure, let's go introduce ourselves, get him a couple drink chips, we're having a good time, you know, it's fine. So we go outside to introduce ourselves, and just the empath in me is like, I say, I don't know your story, but it's nice to see you out. And her boyfriend looks me dead in the face and says, she can tell you. And I say, well, that's her story to tell if she wants to tell that story. And then my husband goes, what happened? And she proceeds to tell us that she, and this is the trigger warning, so if you're triggered about mentions of what I stated in the beginning, maybe click away right now. Give you a second to click away. Alright, clicked away? Okay, the people who are still here have been warned. That was a failed suicide attempt, that she tried to blow her brains out and missed. So I don't really know what to say at that point, but all I can make come out of my mouth is, oh, okay. And then I become very aware of another woman who has come outside behind me. And this woman should not be by herself. If you're triggered by mentions of alcohol, gore, injury, etc., at this point, I would click away. But she comes outside, and it's pretty clear that she should not be by herself. She's stumbling, she's having difficulty walking, and presumably she comes outside to also smoke a cigarette. Well, this woman severely missteps and trips and slams her head into the corner of a post on her way down. And I just go, oh crap, I gotta go. And I get up, and next thing I know, I'm holding this woman's hand, I'm sitting with her, I'm like, you're gonna be okay, I got you, I got you, I got you. I get out my iPhone light and I shine it on this lady's head, and she has blonde hair. The right side of her head, so it would be her left side, but from my perspective it's her right side, of the back of her head is already pretty saturated with blood. I hand my phone light to another person. I'm like, I gotta get water and I gotta wash this out in case there's rocks or gravel in it. So I sprint into the establishment, get a plastic cup, fill it up full of water, come back and pour it over the wound. I yell for somebody to get me some washcloths to stop the bleeding, and I tell one of the workers at the establishment to call 911 because she is bleeding quite severely and it is a head wound. At this point, we're all just trying to get her to talk. We're like, who are you talking to right now? Who's sitting in front of you? Who's here? Where are you? And just trying to keep her alert and stuff. And we soak through washcloth number 1, and we're on our way to washcloth number 2 when the helmet girl that I talked to earlier points out, she's on an incline, all the blood's gonna rush to her head, you should probably sit her up. So at this point I sit her up, so I'm crouched in a crouched position, if you can picture, with my knees in this woman's back, who's quite a bit, larger built than I am, and I've got one hand, my left hand's on her shoulder, my right hand's on the side of her head, my knees are in her back, and we're just waiting for the ambulance to arrive. Her daughter shows up at one point, she's crying, she's holding her daughter's hand, she's asking if she can smoke a cigarette, which we're like, that probably isn't a good idea right now. And I'm just sitting there, and about a half hour goes by, and the ambulance finally shows up, and they're like trying to take her from me and put the neck brace on her and stuff. And because of COVID, no one's allowed to ride with her. What hospital do you want to go to? Da da da. And that's the last thing I heard from her that night. Well, that next day, I call a friend of ours from the area to get an update, because I'm like, holy crap, like, this was a lot. And I find out that this woman went to the hospital, and because presumably of her level of intoxication, she sat in the hospital for 3 hours, which is already excessive even if you're intoxicated. I mean, we're possibly talking about a traumatic brain/head injury. So she sits in the hospital for 3 hours. They finally get fed up and leave, and then they end up at an urgent care where she receives 13 staples in her head. And I'm like, what? So I guess the point of me telling this story is when you're trained, because I do have some training, but when you're in a situation like that where the best thing you can do is respond and trust that you know what to do, don't hesitate. Ever. Don't ever hesitate. You never know when a situation might arise that somebody needs you, whether it be to go get help or just offer some kind words or reach out to somebody or even provide medical assistance. I guess just always be alert and don't be afraid to help somebody out when something like that happens. It can be very easy to be afraid when there's like blood and stuff involved. I know my husband was like, I'm so proud of you, but I was like, at that point, my when I'm involved in something like that, my brain kind of shuts off and I just do what I know I need to do. So yeah, that's my story time. If you guys want me to share other story times, I have some story times from like trips at school and stuff, and I have hotel stay trips. That one's really fun. But I think I might kind of do these for at least a couple more weeks to take a break from the commentary. I know a lot of people are doing commentary on YouTube and they do it better than I do. If you're into that kind of stuff, check out Adam McIntyre, Evangelina Scav, and they can provide some pretty good videos with commentary, especially Evangelina Scav. She goes live with people and she's very open and honest and talks about some of her own life experience as well. She's not just a commentary channel, and she's very pleasant to listen to. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you Thursday.